There is something truly remarkable about playing an indie game. I love AAA titles as much as the next person, but something about indie games just makes them a completely different experience. You would think that if a game was well made and had a massive budget that it would easily overshadow any game made by a smaller team, but that's simply not the case. Metroid Dread was published by Nintendo and is part of a well-established series that hadn't seen a release in over a decade. Meanwhile, Hollow Knight was funded by a Kickstarter campaign and was developed by 3 people. Now let's look at the sales of each game. This admittedly isn't a perfect comparison. Metroid Dread is much newer than Hollow Knight and is only available on the Switch, but it illustrates the point that even with much smaller teams and budgets, indie games can still hold up against mainstream titles in the market. But how? There are plenty of factors that go into this, but the main one is creativity. The thing is that without the massive budgets or workforce that big companies like Ubisoft or Nintendo or Sony have, indie developers are forced to get creative with their projects in order to make them stand out. God of War is a spectacle of a series. Visually, it's dazzling, the storytelling is thoughtful, and the combat is smoother than cutting into slightly melted butter with a sharp knife. But in Undertale, I can win a battle against a mermaid horseman by having a flexing contest with him. The developers behind Call of Duty or just any sports series, or Pokemon, get the luxury of being able to click copy and paste once a year and still have a fairly successful title. Meanwhile, indie developers have this monumental task of having to create something new that you've never seen before in the multiple decades that gaming has existed. It's getting really hot in here. There we go. This is a brain. Indie developers use this in order to create something that was previously known as new ideas. They have to think outside the box for new mechanics, like a game world that is an actual box that you can rotate. Fez is easily one of the most interesting platformers to date because of its simple mechanic of rotating the game world in order to create new paths. Oh no, it's the end of the road. What am I ever going to do? There's no more places for me to go. Bam! Just kidding. New path. This simple mechanic is then fused with meta fourth wall breaking puzzles that create an experience that you just won't get from any other game. Paperwork is one of the greatest misfortunes of human existence, and Papers, Please takes the mundane task of looking over documents and turns it into a fun challenge with its increasingly demanding workflow, which is then backed with a fun, peculiar story with branching paths that all depend on your choices and sometimes even your mistakes. Ma'am, for the 20th time, I can't let you in unless you bring the proper documentation. If the mechanics of a game aren't necessarily the most creative part, then unique or great storytelling can definitely make up for that. On the surface, Lisa the Painful is one of the most straightforward RPGs that you can play. You walk around and fight the enemies you encounter in turn-based combat. However, unhindered by the need to meet corporate demands or satisfy the tastes of the general populace, Lisa follows 0 rules in its storytelling, turning its world into one of the quirkiest and most interesting to explore while allowing its story to go to darker places than most mainstream titles would dare touch. Both Limbo and Inside by developer Playdead take environmental storytelling to the next level. The narratives of these games are told through exactly 0 dialogue, and instead trusts the player to piece together their ambiguous and subtle stories simply by exploring the world. Meanwhile, Forspoken, a Square Enix game, uses its dialogue to make me realize that I don't want to be playing this anymore.
You absolutely sound like that.
No, you absolutely sound like that.
There's one more category of things that make indie games unique that I want to talk about, and the only way I can describe it is love. Sonic Mania is probably objectively the greatest Sonic game of all time, and I say that as someone who probably poured about a year's worth of his life into Sonic Heroes as a child. Even though Sonic Mania technically isn't an indie game, I think it's important to recognize that it wasn't actually developed by Sega. It was made by this guy and a few others. Sonic is a series that has struggled to find its footing in the modern gaming era, but a small team of developers who were originally just fans of the series were able to bring it back to its roots and breathe new life into it. The same year that the actual Sonic team released Sonic Stardew Valley owes its entire existence to Harvest Moon, and a little bit of Zelda. But developer Concerned Ape took these inspirations and used them to fuel his own project, and finally chiseled them with so much love and attention. The charming atmosphere of the game, the endless number of things to do, and just the sheer number of details and secrets have allowed Stardew Valley to surpass any Harvest Moon game, both financially and just in terms of how goddamn good it is. And going back to Hollow Knight, this game took mechanics introduced by Dark Souls, threw them into a Metroidvania format, and combines it all with slick gameplay and an art direction that absolutely oozes atmosphere. It really just makes you want to jump down a well and explore it for yourself just to see what cool shit you can find down there.
Help! This was a mistake! I should start another day!
Necessity is the mother of invention. Omori, Lisa, Fez, Celeste, Undertale, Hollow Knight, Minecraft before it was bought by Microsoft. All of these games are some of the most inventive and timeless gaming experiences. And they were each made by this many people with this much money. Despite the disadvantages of being developed by small teams or even individual people, indie games still manage to succeed, fueled by a pure passion and desire to create a singularly unique experience for players. This doesn't mean that AAA titles aren't unique in their own right or don't have their merits, nor does it mean that every indie project is great, but the ones that are give gamers an experience like no other. Thank you for watching this video. I just wanted to give you a quick reminder that we're at 900 subs, over 900 subs at this point, which means that we're less than 100 subscribers away from the less than 1,000 club hoodies and long sleeve shirts from disappearing forever. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers, these are never coming back. That would make no sense. So be sure to pick one of those up. My camera just died, so I'm using my phone right now. And if you see another design that you like, be sure to pick it up. It's a great way to support the channel. And of course, thank you for watching this video. It seriously means a ton. And if you want another video to check out, you should definitely take a peek at this one right here. All right, that's all I'm here for. Hope you guys have an awesome one. Bye-bye.